and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. I'm Gimli, and tonight I'll be joined by, first up, the man who suggested a flavour to Walkers, but to quote them, cheddar and minge is not a flavour they'll be looking into. It's Danny the GFP.
Ahoy, hoy, shift mates.
What have you been up to today?
I've had a lovely massage from my physio, who used to be the physio for Spurs.
Oh.
I know. He's a Man United fan, though.
Were there any brown handprints on your back?
He was there when Ozil was manager of Spurs, and he said he was a lazy bastard. He used to have a go at the players because they weren't as good as him. He didn't do any training with them. Just used to shout at them for being shit.
I saw Gary Mabbott was at Trigger's funeral. It's a shame they buried the wrong person, really. Next up, we'll move on to Mr. Shiwar, our man who somehow manages to divide opinions every single week. Fresh from competing in the Winter Olympics in Sochi, it's GC from Shiwar Yellow Ribbon. Hello, Gav.
I thought you said you had a brilliant intro for me.
It was because
You couldn't even fucking say it right.
Because Eric Gay competed in the downhill skiing, and he came 10th. So I just wondered if that was any of your relations. Oh, no.
Have you heard about the other? There's 3 Venezuelans at the Winter Olympics, and one of them's called Pardew. Seriously.
That's fucking brilliant.
And he's from Caracas.
Are his friends
From Crackers.
Aglero and Ishwan?
There really is. It's not spelt Pardew, but it's Pardew, I think. And yeah, he's from Caracas.
Oh, fair enough. Next, a man who, like Danny, hasn't been on for a few weeks, the forever popular Mr. Carnage. Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you back.
Oh, mate, it's great to be back, honestly. I couldn't think of anything better to do on a Thursday night.
Nah, than talk crap with Gav.
No, it's great. It's good. Come on, let's do this.
Finally. And finally, completing the lineup tonight is a man who's surprisingly not as grumpy as we always make him out to be. He is on the Jack Daniels, though. It's our gooner in Barcelona, John. Hello, John.
How you fellas doing tonight?
Oh,
Good.
well,
Evening.
all good.
Hola.
We've got 2 matches to pick our way through tonight, but before we do, let's go over to Danny, who's going to give us all of the scores from across the board.
Bonjour. It's been a couple of weeks since I last did a roundup of the Utes, so this is double bubble, as Gav might call it, of results. The under-18s this week won 2-1 away at, was it away? I don't know. On Saturday with 2 goals from the young man Dawkins, and I thought, fuck me, that is an amazing result. They've actually won a game because the only other game they'd won all season was the first game of the season against Liverpool, and then checking back for the results, they only won last week as well. Back-to-back wins. They beat Villa 2-0. Oh, no, my flabber had never been so ghasted. Their next game is away at Chelsea, so we wish them good luck, and God knows they're going to need it, and that's 11 a.m. kick-off. The under-21s played Southampton as well last weekend, but only managed a 0-0. And the week before that, they drew 2-2 away at Norwich with goals from Maureen Littman and Ormond Otwill. Their next game is away at Reading this Monday, a 7 p.m. kick-off. Remember, if you go, tell them we said hello. And the ladies haven't played any games other than the odd reserve game. They've got some friendly games coming up because the season hasn't started, but the continuation of the Champions League doesn't start again until March when we have, I think it's Birmingham they're playing. So that's all there is in the roundup. We're doing all right.
Fantastic. We'll start off by talking about Saturday's game at Anfield, in which Arsenal were beaten 5-1. Shall we go over to the Chopsy one to give us his thoughts on this game? Gav, you're up.
Well, we'll probably end up talking about it for a longer time than it actually took us to lose the game. It was all dead and buried, and we was just completely stuffed in the first 20 minutes, and it was just a complete car crash. Liverpool, for some reason or another, just come out a hell of a lot more hungrier than us, and they ran at us, and we just did not have an answer. I think the only bright point about the whole game really is we could have lost by 8 or 9. Really, I mean, Suarez had a couple of cracking chances. Chesney pulled off a couple of good saves. We could have lost. We could have got stuffed by a double-figure score. We was that bad. I don't think anybody on the pitch deserves any credit whatsoever. Jack got the ump, which was nice to see, and threw himself about for a little bit. But then you had the feeling that he could end up getting himself sent off. But like I say, it was just a complete disaster. I mean, I'd love to say it was just one of those games, but it's another early kick-off away from home to a big club, and we just got completely and utterly stuffed. I don't think, you've got to go out to Anfield and, you've got to you've just got to get off on the right foot, and we did not get off on the right foot, and the minute the first goal went in, it was just an open season, so I think we should move on, really, because it was depressing to watch just how bad we actually played.
Unfortunately, we do have to pick it apart. So, FK, I'll come to you with a question. Were they really that good, or were we really that poor, or a combination of the both?
It's got to be a combination of the both. I think, as Gav says, we were awful. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, and Liverpool had a cracking start. I mean, 50 seconds on the clock to get that goal. I know it was offside, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, they got the early goal. And then Skirtle, the second one from a corner, we just turned off. And at that point, you'd expect the players to kind of just say, look, we're 2-0 down. Let's just try and consolidate, slow down the tempo, breathe a little bit. But our heads just dropped and heads just went. And Liverpool, like you say in your question, Gim, you got to hand a bit of credit to them. I mean, sometimes Arsenal fans are just so critical of their own team, and we were poor. Absolutely no defending the team at all whatsoever. But you've got to hand it to Liverpool. They came out of the blocks flying. I mean, it's probably the best that Liverpool have played that I've seen in a long, long time. And everything they threw at us, we just didn't have a response for. We just couldn't handle it. And like Gav says, I mean, it could have been 6 or 7, and luckily for us, it was only 4-0 at 18, 19 minutes. I remember sitting in my living room. It was unfortunate I couldn't get to the game, but sitting in my living room just thinking, I was in shock. I was speechless, and I've always got something to say. I just looked at my mates and just thought, what, I just can't believe what's going on, because before the game, and I'm sure some of you will share this level of optimism, but before the game, I thought we had a chance of getting the points. Liverpool had defensive injuries, and we were top of the league and in good form. And I thought, well, we've not lost at Anfield in 7.5, 8 years. I really thought we could do it. And so for me, the whole day was just shocking, and I was worried about the psychological impact it would have on the team. But you've got to give credit to Liverpool. You can't just say Arsenal didn't turn up in Liverpool. We've been spanked 5. Even if Arsenal have an off day, the other team have got to make something of it, and they've hit 5 past us, so you've got to give credit to them.
John, over to you next. 57% of the possession. Is it the case that we didn't make the most of the possession we had?
Well, I think the word that everybody else is looking for is clusterfuck. That's pretty much
sums it up.
or the day there. Listen, like FK said, the first goal was offside, but you make chances, and they made their chances count. I think their pace through the middle in attacking our center backs, which were left wide open by the lack of pace of Arteta, and our fullbacks going, gunning forward as they always do. I think, honestly, for the first time, and it's, well, we can't say for the first time in a big game, it just comes up again that Wenger is just very, very tactically unaware of changes by the other opposition managers. I think Brendan Rodgers came in with a perfect game plan, saw what we do, understood that we were vulnerable on a counter, and took advantage completely with the pace that they have. Between Sterling and Sturridge and Suarez, they just picked us apart, and no answer whatsoever.
John, sorry, just to pick up on what John said there. The first game we played against Liverpool earlier in the season, we got two good goals, and Brendan Rodgers sort of turned it round, and we sort of come away with a 2-0 win. Yeah, complete to what you just said there, John. He actually learned by that first half against us earlier in the season, changed his tactics about, and then brought them on to this game. Now, Wenger just has not got he just can't change things, or he don't change things, or he's too stubborn to change things.
He refuses. I think he sees it, but he just wants to have this thing of, if we play our game, we'll win. And in so many times in these big matches, there's film on everybody. Everybody knows our tactics. Jesus Christ, how many times are we going to go center back to defensive midfielder to right back, go down the flank, cross. How many fucking times is that going to be the most obvious way that we're going to attack? And there's just no change in the setup, in the formation, in the tactics, and even when we go behind, there's no change. At a certain point, your manager has to take responsibility for setting up the team badly, just like the players have to take responsibility for not executing properly. And when there's a combination of both of those things, you get, 8-2 at United, you get a 6-3 at City, you get a 5-1 versus Liverpool.
John, what do you make of Flamini not playing in that game? Do you think had he been playing or not had a ban, that he would have made much of a difference?
To be honest, no, I don't think he would have, because the way we were set up. I think that we're lacking. He would have maybe stopped one goal. It might have been 4-1 instead of 5-1, but it was just so tactically naive to bombard them on the flanks with all that speed in the middle, leaving our center backs completely wide open for a counter.
Danny, that's a lot to digest there from what you've just heard. What was your take on that game?
It was, I just kept saying to myself, I was there when we beat them 4-0 at Highbury and Anders Limpar scored from the halfway line. That's all I kept repeating to myself as some kind of mantra. And then the post office bloke come and he said, are you watching the game? I said, yeah. I said, what team do you support? He said, Liverpool. I told him to fuck off. Actually, I pointed to behind the front door. I've got an Arsenal poster and I went, there you go, fuck off. It was just, the thing that annoyed me the most was Sagna. Yet again, constantly out of position. If you can go after you listen to the podcast, go and look at it on YouTube. You will see with that first goal that Sagna was by the halfway line, and then Mertesacker had to drift across to right back to challenge the who come down there. I think it might have been challenged Sterling on the left hand side and gave away the free kick. And then even then, Sagna's standing by the halfway line, and Mertesacker was thinking, I've got to foul him here, because if I don't foul him, he's going to cut in, and then he's going to be one-on-one with Koscielny and maybe Monreal. But Wenger has the fullbacks pushing up so hard. You shouldn't be doing that when you're playing away. And again, for the third goal, Sagna did exactly the same thing. He's way out of position, and all season he keeps doing it. And I know
Dortmund.
I know it was Sagna's ball through to who got fouled? Was it Wilshere got fouled for the penalty?
Chamberlain.
That's it, and Chamberlain. I know on the outside of the right-hand side of the box, it was Sagna that put the ball through to Chamberlain, and Chamberlain was the one that got fouled. So he did a little bit there. But when you're playing away, at first you need to just settle the team, because that's when Liverpool are coming at us. And Liverpool reminded me a lot of like we used to be back in the days when we'd have Perez, Ljungberg, Henry, Bergkamp hammering us down the wings, draw our players out of position, and then when they're out of position, run at them at the speed of light. And the acceleration of Sterling and Sturridge is something that we cannot cope with. I mean, I know Mertesacker and Koscielny are great players, and our fullbacks are great players, and Arteta is, I don't know what the hell's going on with Arteta. But when they're trying to push to try and get another goal, and then they get us again, and they get us again. But I think one of the things I've not heard much about is the number of tackles in the game. We had 16, they had 35. I mean, that every time we got the ball, they just shut us down, and we gave them so much space. I remember seeing on Match of the Day where they were drawing the circles around the Liverpool players. They had like 10, 15 foot in front of them every time they wanted the ball, and they just passed it around. And the bit Gav was saying about the shots, they had 22 shots at goal, 12 on target, and it should have been at least 6, because that Suarez one that hit the post was absolutely stunning.
Beautiful shot.
And just think, if Szczesny wasn't in the form he is in now, it could have been 8 or 9, like Gav says. It's just, we've got to consolidate at the back. Take it easy. If you don't go to Anfield and take the piss and try and score the goals, what would George Graham have done? He'd have gone straight back 4. And people, when you're watching the next Arsenal game, you look how often we have got a straight back 4. Hardly fucking ever. And it's driving me nuts. And we've got a fantastic defence at the best of time.
I mean, to elaborate what another earlier question was with regards to Flamini. If you notice when Flamini's playing as opposed to Arteta, when our left or right back are slightly out of position, Flamini often slots in between them and the centre backs to sort of to cover, and that when he's not on the pitch, we don't even get close to doing that. And
We're better.
like I
We're
say,
better organized with him on the pitch.
Oh, I mean, hell of a lot. I mean, like I say,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Arteta. To me, he's not a defensive midfielder. He's
No,
never
he's
been a defensive midfielder, and he's never going to be a defensive midfielder.
Let alone a left back or a right back. Like,
well, exactly. I
like
mean, he's a forward. I mean, he's an attacking midfielder. Arteta. That's
he
where
was
he's
a
played the
playmaker at Everton.
Exactly. That's where he's played the majority of his days. He's, like I say, he just, I think it was bad luck. Really, obviously we had to play him, and Flamini was suspended. But I think Arteta just cannot play in that
Listen,
role.
Arteta's been a commendable addition to the squad when we needed a little bit of leadership a couple of years ago, and the whole bit. And he willingly changed his position to slot in where we needed help. But he, like you said, he's not a defensive midfielder, never will be. People that try to compare Flamini with Arteta have no idea what they're talking about at times. I mean, the pace, the positioning, the organization ability. Arteta is a leader type character. That's fine. Commendable, great. But he doesn't have the pace or the physicality to play in that position. Most times they're saying, well, he's got more tackles. He has to have more tackles because he's caught out of position more often than not. He doesn't anticipate.
I think a lot of people giving Arteta stick, John, but I think we do have to remember he's a player playing out of position. We need to draw our minds back to, like you guys have said, where he played at Everton. And I think, in the same way that they tried to play Ramsey on the wing and it didn't really work, the same that he's played Wilshere on the wing, it didn't really work. He's doing a job that, is not his first role in the team. FK, I know you've got a bit to talk about tactics and game plan, haven't you?
Yeah, it's difficult to disagree with what the guys are saying because, I mean, Arsenal's obviously got a philosophy in the way that he believes football should be played, and it can be very frustrating sometimes when you're waiting for that plan B, that variety in our game, because we always seem to pass side, left to right, always waiting for that little runner just to run in behind and play that little dink ball. And also, his substitutions are always very predictable at 70 and then at 85. I think that the point that I wanted to make was that in these big games, and we saw just a week before the Anfield game, that Jose Mourinho took a Chelsea team to City, and that game was brilliant. I mean, Chelsea were they were exceptional, ominously good, and they showed everybody else, and Arsene should have seen that, and he should have seen that that's how you go to a big club away from home. You set up your flat back four, you set up your holding midfielder, you've stayed disciplined positionally, tactically. Your players know not to just charge forward and leave massive gaps at the back, especially when you've got the likes of Sturridge on one side and Sterling on the other, who once they've left you're not going to catch. Back Sanya's quick, but he's relatively old compared to Sterling. And I just thought it was just such a glorious opportunity missed. I mean, we just set up ourselves as we do normally. And this is what I said about being 2-0 up. The players have got to realise and respond and say, right, look, it's obviously a bad day at the office. We're 2-0 down. Let's just regather, regroup, get a few minutes, have a bit of a breather. But we opened up as if, like I've never seen us open up before. And it was just one after another. And like the guy said, it could have been 6.
We just did. There was just no answer.
It's one of his flaws. It's one of Arsenal's flaws. He's tactically not as, versatile, or he doesn't really amend his game plan. And as much as you hate Mourinho, the man, as a manager, he's just quite incredible.
Makes you wonder what goes through Wenger's mind. If you're a 12-year-old and you're playing FIFA and you're 4-0 down, after 20 minutes, you're going to think you're either going to shut up shop or you're going to try and get the goals. But to wait until we'd just gone 5-0 down to then bring on the substitutions, and then why the fuck do you bring on a left-back for a left-back? You don't do that.
Well, Monreal was shit, though.
Yeah, but,
he was shocking.
But he was just, he had no cover for him because poor Alcazorla was running all over the place, having a shocking game. And so then he was thinking, do I cover at left back? I mean, the couple of the goals have gone, players have gone past him to get the goals. But then, I was screaming, bring fucking Gnabry on. Play him. Take off Sagna. Do whatever, but don't bring on a defender. If you're 5-0 down, don't bring on a fucking defender. You've got to go all out for attack. You may end up losing 7-4, but you can't go bringing on bloody defenders. And then, I mean, Giroud was just awful. I don't know. I don't even know where to start on that. But I was lucky that Mertesacker, Koscielny and Szczesny had a half-decent game between them. Because if it wasn't for Szczesny in goal, it would have been even more embarrassing. But how can we lose 2 games like that, lose away and get absolutely hammered. But yet, our home record in the Premier League is second to none. I mean, our home record is, I made a note of this, we have lost 1 of our last 22 Premier League home games. We've won 15, drew 6 and lost 1 to Villa. And in the last 9 Premier League games at home, we've had 8 clean sheets. Now, how can a team do that at home and be so bad away?
Well, we're not that bad away actually, Danny.
In those 2 games,
we've got the second best away record in the league. What's interesting actually is I was reading the Evening Standard when I was coming home on the way home from work, and if you take, I know this is a pointless statistic, but if you take out the City and the Anfield game, we've conceded 15 goals in 24 games, which is quite incredible. And you're always
the thing is when we're great, we're great.
Yeah.
But when we're bad, we're fucking spectacularly bad.
Yeah, my point was, FK, how can you have such a great home record, but those 2 away games let in 11 goals in 2 away games?
Well, I mean, City are spanking everybody. Apart from Chelsea, obviously, who had a very good game plan. But we went to City far too naive, opened up, and he went with Flamini and Arteta thinking that we'd be defensive, but we just went back to our old tricks. Anfield, I don't think it's a case of Arsene completely messing it all up. I just think it's a case of we went there, the early goal, and our heads dropped, and they just the 20 minutes they just tore us apart, blew us out.
It was definitely not all on Arsene.
It's just one of those
huge
days.
Combination.
Yeah, the whole team, the entire team was awful, and people have picked out Mesut Ozil. Right, he's our expensive player, this and the other, but not one player had a good game that day. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, and the sooner we forget it, the better.
Of course, everyone's going to be talking about what happened on the field, but a couple of the papers picked up a few other Arsenal-related stories the next day, one of which being the Giroud story about bedding a woman at 3 a.m. before the game. Gav, I know you have a little bit more on this, about it not being correct.
I don't know how true. I mean, obviously, it's been in the paper, and you've obviously got to imagine that if it's not true, then he's got all rights to sue him, and that will come out in the wash if he's going. If it is complete bollocks. But it obviously sounds like this woman's done the business and sold the story. But I don't know. I thought the impression I got from people that I was reading on Twitter, etc., was that was actually before the Palace game and not before the Liverpool game.
I can tell you it was before the Palace game. A friend of mine's a journalist at The Sun, and he said that it definitely was before the Palace game, but they decided to leave that out in the story just to make it a bit more, sensational. Absolutely.
Is he married though, Giroud?
Yeah,
just had a kid.
Got a kid. Yeah.
Oh, he's just had a kid. Yeah. That's probably why. Then he's got some savings and he needed to deposit.
And she was a right pig as well.
Yeah, she wasn't even that nice. What the hell?
No,
mind you, if I was that good looking, I'd be flipping. I'd be unstoppable.
He should have had a word with you, FK. You could have sorted him out some right old bit of minge, as Steve would say.
What I want to know is, FK, how many women are there like that out there that are going to tell stories about you?
Oh my God! Let's
Hundreds.
just hope that day never comes. And what about just about on that story? I mean, Giroud, he's tired enough as it is because he's
shagging.
He's shagged, isn't he? Yeah, he's played so many games.
Shagged out.
So he's not helping himself. I mean, if he was banging in the goals, I really wouldn't care.
Banging bitches.
Yeah, exactly.
He's French though. The French do that kind of thing, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
And he had a snail afterwards for dessert.
Yeah. Didn't the French Prime Minister got caught with a mistress or whatever, and his popularity's gone up?
Well, Arsene Wenger's been at it as well with that French DJ lady.
Yeah.
So, has he?
Yeah.
Do we have to add an allegedly here? Because I don't want to get shot.
So,
David Guetta.
Wenger was caught a few years ago, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The dirty boy.
Another story that made its way into the papers over last weekend was an apparent bust-up between Mertesacker and Sonogo. Apparently Mertesacker ended up with a black eye. Gav, did you say before we click record that this was a game before Palace?
I think again this was before Palace, yeah, but again it came out after the Liverpool game. I think they were saving up all the good stories.
Yeah,
Let's hit them all. Let's completely kick them when they're down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it sounds. I mean, those things happen. I mean, players are gonna, go in on a little bit over the top or a little bit hard in training and have a bit of a punch up and dust up. the next day, hopefully, it's all forgotten. So let's hope it was just one of them. But like I say, it just doesn't. You wouldn't actually put it down as being, squad solidarity if there's, punch-ups on the training ground. But it happens, doesn't it? I mean, I have rows and near punch-ups with some of my
Everybody.
best mates who I work with. Do you
If
know
I
what
ever
I mean?
met you, I'd give you a dry slap.
Yeah, well, I'd just fucking kick you in the leg, wouldn't I?
I spit on my hand and then
ouch.
slap him.
Oh, but do you know what I mean? It's just one of these things that happen. I mean, I think it's probably happened, since day one. You get a load of blokes playing football or whatever. Every now and then you're going to get a punch up. It's one of them. It's pretty much a non-story, really.
I'm with Gav. I think it's absolutely no interest to me whatsoever. Sometimes, actually, when you hear these types of stories, when Arsenal are notoriously known for being such a softy club, sometimes it does us a bit of good, actually, just to know that there's a bit of a fight on the training pitch. And Sanogo was on the bench yesterday. Mertesacker's been playing, so no problem for me.
And John, we'll just get your thoughts on this one before we move over to the United game.
Well, the young lad probably said something stupid and Mertesacker hit him upside the fucking head. Good for him.
Fantastic. Our next game sees us talk about last night's stalemate with United at the Emirates. To start, we'll go over to FK.
Well, I was probably one of the few fans that was actually quite relieved that we didn't lose the game. Not because United are any good or because I was worried about the game. I just thought, having lost at Anfield the way that we did, I thought there was a real possibility that would have a psychological impact in the way that we performed last night. And it turns out it kind of did. We were nervous, a little bit cautious, maybe a little bit tense. And you can understand that. I mean, football to them is their livelihood, right? They're humans, they're not robots. So that spanking would have had a nasty impact on their mentality, I think, going into the game. And everybody knows, even though United are poor this year, on paper, they've actually got quite a decent starting 11. And with Van Persie and Rooney up front, they're capable of causing, raising their game and causing any team some sort of an upset. So I was really tense. I was really nervous going into the game. And I'm actually just quite pleased that we didn't get beat. I was gutted not to beat them. I'm not saying that I'm really happy with the point, but I'm saying that given the circumstances, I'll settle for the point. And actually, I think now that we're still a point off the leaders, having scratched off Liverpool and United from our fixtures, we're still in it. So for me, it's not the end of the world. It would have been much better if we'd have won, but we haven't. But I'm satisfied, I suppose.
Certainly a positive way to look at it. Danny?
I was thinking that never do I remember them having such a crap team, and Fulham are just showing how beatable everybody is in the league. And I kept thinking, I'm really annoyed. I think, no, I'm not going to be annoyed. I just think what it would be like if I was a Man United fan. Apart from, obviously, I'd have drowned myself, put myself out of my own misery. When you look last night, they had Van Persie, Rooney,
Touchdown.
and Mata. £750,000 a week, roughly, between them, and they did slightly less than fuck all. That is a true team with a shit manager in fucking crisis. But the thing that annoyed me last night was, I saw the bench and thought, fucking hell, Wenger wants to score goals here. 3 strikers on the bench: Bentner, Sanogo, Podolski. After about half an hour, you realise that once Giroud had put 2 wide and 1 over, it wasn't going to be his night. 3 strikers on the bench, all 3 of them ready to go. Sanogo made his comeback in midweek against the weekend in the reserves and played, I think, 61 minutes. And then for Giroud to be having such an absolute shocking game, I thought, well, he's going to bring one of them on. He's got to bring one of them on. And when they wheeled out the pensioner that is Ferdinand, and you had 2 defenders at the back, 35 and 32, a combined age of just a little bit younger than our very own Steve, that you would bring someone on with a little bit of pace. But not only did he when all of our players are claiming they're fucking knackered, that he brought one fucking player on. What the fuck are you thinking? He was a good player he brought on, but why the hell has he got 3 strikers on the bench? That game was open and ready for Gnabry. Was he injured? What was up with him? Because I don't know. I don't think he was injured. That game, he should have brought Gnabry on, he should have brought Ox on, and he should have brought on one of the strikers. But Gnabry wasn't on the bench, so he couldn't have done that. And I'm just fuming that they were there. They were absolute dog shit. They went there to try and go for the draw. Apart from the one chance that Van Persie had. And then Wilshere, I thought he was going to score. I thought Giroud had 3 clear-cut chances to score. I was quite happy to see Sagna staying back a little bit and doing his job properly. I mean, I'm a little bit harsh on him, but I think that's because he's been told, get forward. Szczesny was just fucking outstanding yet again. The back two were brilliant. I thought Cazorla was back on form again. And, I know we're going to talk about the Umlaut himself, but some of the footwork. I mean, people, if you get a chance this season, just go and watch Ozil. Watch what he does with his feet. I can't remember. He was travelling in basketball terms. Travelling is when you're using both hands, from one hand to the other hand, bouncing the ball. That's what he was doing with the ball. He was kicking it with one foot, then the other foot. He ran at 3 or 4 Man United players and managed to get round them, laying stuff off all over the place. But that was the highlight of the game for me, was the fact that yet another clean sheet. That Ozil was absolutely outstanding on another planet. Cazorla was brilliant. Rosicky was still good. But Arteta, I think that's a talking point. He was poor old bloke. I think his days are numbered with us. I could go on, but I'm sure someone else wants to say something.
We've got Ozil Watch coming up later in the next couple of minutes. But before, we'll go over to Gav. A lot has been said about this Manchester United team this year. When we went to play them last night, they were placed 7th in the league. Surely we should be beating 7th place teams at home, even if it is United, shouldn't we, Gav?
Well, I mean, they were shit at their. I mean, when we played them at their ground, and I say apart from Arteta gifting Van Persie a chance in the first half, and their breakaway that Szczesny had the brilliant save on in the second half, they didn't actually create anything. And it's a very, very poor Man United team. There was a very, very poor team last year. How the fuck they won the league, I will never know. And like I say, I mean, I speak to a couple of Man United fellas who've been going, from Manchester, believe it or not, have been going over there, 30, 40 odd years. And they said that this is probably one of the worst. Last year was the worst Man United team that's actually ever won a trophy for them. Because even they knew the writing was on the wall. So it's a crap team. They've got very, very little creativity in the middle of the pitch. I mean, Mata was just complete shit for them yesterday as well. Rooney was running about not doing anything, and Van Persie didn't do much either. So I mean, they were there for the taking. You can't look at it as if we've got a point against Man United. You've got to look at it that we struggled to get a point against a team that will probably finish about 7th or 8th in the league this year. And again, it's down to Wenger in charge. He couldn't change things about. The substitution he did make was probably a little bit too late and probably the wrong personnel. We was absolutely raping them down the right hand side of the pitch. Really should have put Ox on there a lot sooner, because he can put in a better ball and he can cut inside where Sagna can't. But again, it's just disappointing. And when it come down to the last sort of 15 minutes, it was kind of like both teams had decided that they both wanted a draw. And with the players that we had on the bench, as Danny alluded to, we should have gone for it. Years ago, Wenger would have gone all out for that. If 0-0 at home with 10 minutes to go, if he had Lundberg or Perez or Wiltord on the pitch, they'd all go on, and we'd end up with 4 forwards on the pitch. There was none of that. I think the Liverpool game has got a lot to play in it, really, but with the last 10-15 minutes, we was just scared to lose.
I think that's important though, Gav, when you say the Liverpool game, because I think had we have not gone to Anfield and had we have played United at home first, I think I would be sitting here today thinking, do you know what, absolutely devastated that we've not beaten a poor United team. But it's remarkable how easy some fans, not saying you guys, but some fans I've seen on Twitter absolutely just dismiss the psychological impact that hammering would have had on our players. I mean, but mate, I mean, because honestly, you can use that example in any walk of life. I mean, I'm a chartered accountant by profession, right? So I do sales pitches for some of the work that I do. If I have a pitch for work and I go and I do this sales pitch and I perform badly, I lose it, I'm completely hung out to dry, my company look bad, all that kind of stuff. You can bet your bottom dollar the next pitch that I do, I'm going to be nervous, wary, I'm not going to be on my game. It's going to be in the back of my mind. I'm going to be, I'll just be in an absolute state. And this is why I said earlier about footballers, they're humans, you know what I mean? They're not robots. They can't just turn it on and off. So, I mean, we're not often that badly beaten. So it must have been in the back of their minds. And I think I completely agree with you that towards the end of the game, it was disappointing to see that. I think both teams had settled for the draw. But I just think, given the circumstances and knowing that we've just been spanked at Anfield, I think it was really important to just consolidate, get a clean sheet, not lose. I mean, imagine if we'd have lost.
Well, I'm more worried. I mean, imagine if that the Van Persie chance in the first few minutes.
Yeah, and
if
by the way, that
if
wasn't
that had
Arteta's
gone
fault.
in, if that had gone in, we would have been completely screwed.
Completely.
Yeah, no, he turned into him, didn't he?
No,
He
it wasn't
was
even
completely
that.
blindsided. He turned into him.
This is something that I want to pick up on, actually. It wasn't Arteta's fault when he turned into him. Chesney should not be playing that pass, right? We've all been there where we play football at the park, Sunday League, whatever, five-a-side. If you're in goal and you've got the ball and all your players are going to be calling for it, give it here, give it here, give it here. But if you can see as a goalkeeper, you've got the best view. He should have seen that there was a man on Arteta and he shouldn't have played that pass. And Chesney does that quite a lot, you know. He gets the ball and he rolls it out for the sake of rolling it out. And sometimes you just think he's so close to being a real top class goalkeeper. If he could just cut that side of his game out, because one of these days they're going to score. And you know, we said the same thing a year ago about when he used to mess around with the ball at his feet. He's cut that out of his game completely now. But for me, I've seen a lot of people blaming Arteta, like, you know, he gave the ball away, but Chesney shouldn't be making that pass.
No, it was a bad ball to get. But I mean, the other option and the thing that we seem to be doing a lot of at the moment is hoofing it up to Giroud. And Giroud drops deep, and like I say, against Liverpool, he lost every single time it went up to him. He lost the aerial challenge, and again last night as well, we lost the majority of them as well. So I mean, I don't understand why and how that tactic has actually come into our game, because we've never played like that under Wenger, and for the easy ball just to try and hit Giroud, and it's really, really not working. I mean, the fella, I don't think the fella can be more out of form. He's always been running to the ground.
I think
FK. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy all that Giroud's knackered bollocks. He missed a sitter in the 3rd minute. What? Because he was tired? Bullshit. Absolute rubbish.
Giroud's played 39 games this season and Suarez has played 23 games. I'm not saying that's a comparison. I'm just saying that when you've got a player who's played 15 games more than your opposition, it's bound to come in. And it's not Giroud's problem, by the way. It's not his fault. It's Arsenal's fault for not having adequate support or an alternative on the bench to bring in. Giroud has played every single game. And don't forget, when he's playing, every corner that we concede, he has to run back and then run back forward again. And, again, it's a simple thing, but he is genuinely tired. You can see that. He's not, I'm not saying...
He's also not good enough.
Oh, of course he is.
Let's be honest. Yes, he's tired. There's that part of it. But there's also the part of it that, he's not good enough. And, we've got nobody else that's even coming close.
Yeah, the closest that's not his fault.
No, it's ridiculous. I'd drop him. I'd like to see Podolski start. Give Podolski. He's been chomping at the bit for a start. He's been chomping at a bit for a start down the middle. And I just think we've got nothing to lose. Give Giroud a couple of weeks off and chuck Podolski in the next couple of games.
Podolski won't do the running back that Wenger does. The thing that ruins Giroud's game is that all the work Wenger wants him to do. You ask any other striker in the world to do that, and they're going to go, I can't do that. So Giroud is sacrificing his own game. I think he's terrible and he needs a rest at the moment. But no, you're not going to get a Podolski, a Bergkamp, an Ian Wright, an Henry, a Bentner running back, covering in midfield, covering on the wings, crossing stuff in, laying stuff off, which I think is our problem. But that's Wenger's problem, and Giroud is the only one who's going to go, yes, boss.
Giroud ain't got the pace though. Giroud has not got the pace.
No, he hasn't.
He's just got zero, and that's why, like I say, when you sound like he missed 2 or 3 chances and missed 2 or 3 good chances,
4 or 5.
Yeah, well, I'm just talking about the one game. But it's when the ball slid across the 6-yard box, he stretches out a leg and he's a foot or half a yard away from the ball. That's because he hasn't got the pace to get in there.
But do we not also think that the Giroud we saw last night was more reminiscent of last season than it was this season?
Yeah, I think it was. He was pressurised. He didn't have much room. Like I always say with Giroud, poor bloke, his first touch isn't that good. He's one of those strikers that when he gets the ball, he needs to look where it's going to go. Ian Wright, blindfold him and he'll know where it's going to go. You spin him round 100 times and then you give him the ball and he'll put it in the top corner and he'll know where the goal is. Giroud doesn't have that instinctive, instant control volley first touch, which is what's letting us down. If he did have, which he might have, it's only his 2nd season with us, we can't expect wonders from him. But if he did have that, then maybe he would be scoring some more. Maybe next season he will. But when you're top of the league, we need this now, not next year.
The thing is, no one can ever question the amount of work Giroud puts in. I mean, he is all over the pitch to the point that he's getting back for corners and he's heading the ball out the way. He's, good at set pieces. However, as a striker, I can't help but feel you're always going to be judged on goals. And for me, he wastes too many opportunities. He is far too wasteful. Do you know what I mean?
He's not clinical, Gim, and he
No.
lacks that killer instinct. You're absolutely right about that. But he appreciates that, and actually recently I think he released some sort of a statement, or he said something about he said something about I apologise, Arsenal fans, I'm not your Suarez, I'm never going to be as good as him, blah blah blah. And you kind of feel for the boy because he's playing for one of the biggest clubs in England, and the fans get on his back. He knows that. He knows that he's not the most clinical of players, but it's not his fault. And Arsene should have, over the last 3 transfer windows, addressed that. But he hasn't. So
Wenger would never have had him in any of our previous championship teams, would he? He wouldn't have fitted in. All the rest of our players would have kind of fitted in, but he wouldn't. So why has Wenger now decided to have the other 10 players the same as he's always had? But now, especially with someone so creative in the Bergkamp hole, but then having a striker up front who can't play along with him, which is driving Ozil up the bloody wall.
Like I say, he needs Giroud's the kind of, he's a good old fashioned centre forward, but as you said, he's one of these forwards where he really needs somebody else next to him and close to him. And a lot of times when the ball's pinged up to him, yes, all right, he's not controlling it the best anyway, but there's nobody bloody close to him anyway. He sometimes looks so absolutely isolated when he does get the ball. That's probably why we're sorry. Just one sec.
Yeah, go on.
That's probably why that when we do go, we can't break at the moment. We cannot put a break in because we haven't got any pace. And like I say, that's another reason. Giroud drops deep. Nobody's running past him. Nobody's near him, and just tactically, we're setting it up completely wrong. So back to you. Sorry.
No, sorry. No, I think John wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, John, you've been very, very quiet. Can we go over to you?
Well, sure. I mean, listen, Giroud is never in the box when he needs to be. He always seems to be, in the wrong places when we're actually breaking forward. And as Gav alluded to, he has no pace. Just to give you a stat from last night, he had 39 passes. He's supposed to be somebody that's linking up play, with our midfield. 59% pass accuracy.
I'm shocked it's that high, John. To be honest with you.
So that kind of puts the things into perspective. That what is his conversion rate as well? It's something like 14% at this point, 13%. I mean, we're everybody wants to blame Ozil, but when you have that in front of you, what are you supposed to do?
We'll move on then, and a feature we've started putting in the show has been Ozil Watch. I know last week we were actually very what's the word for it? We talked him up a little bit from his recent display, saying that it's not as bad as everybody is making out. Danny, you've got some stats, I understand. So would you like to share them with us?
What sort of stats? Oh, these weren't just about Ozil. These were just about the team in general.
Okay.
I've read out the ones about the Premier League games. Interestingly, of our next 8 home Premier League games, all 8 of them are at the Emirates, which I thought was quite an interesting stat. Of the 12 games we got...
I had to think about that for a second. I was like, you what?
He's well happy with himself on that one, isn't he? It's like Christmas and his birthday coming at the same time, that one.
The only other one I've got I wanted to talk about is the last 12 games of the season, but I haven't actually got any Ozil stats. I forgot to say to you that they weren't about that.
Yeah, last night he had 7 key passes.
Yeah, because John, you were saying that he's someone did something about Premier League players, and you said he's not only best in the Premier League, he's the best in Europe.
He's the best in Europe. He has something like 65 key passes. I tweeted it the other day. 65 key passes, the best among, and I'm sure it's gone up now with last night's performance. But it's really staggering if you look at his average passes per game, key passes per game in the past few years as well. He's averaging 3 here with us, a total of 63 so far. In Madrid last year, he averaged 2.9, had 92 all season. And the year before that, he averaged 2.9, 103 for the whole season. He's actually upped his passing success percentage. I mean, just up and down, accurate long balls, accurate through balls per game. I think, we talked a bit about it earlier. How, for example, he got past 4 defenders yesterday. Got into the box, nobody in the box.
That was absolutely. That was a beautiful. I mean, that is in.
And even then,
on my brain, it's wonderful.
Even then, he laid it off perfectly for Rosicky to take a shot. What does Rosicky do? He passes it.
Yeah, passes it left.
It just.
Back
I mean,
isn't it?
And how many times have we seen him go down the flank, beat his man, take on his man with a little, a hip turn, cut inside, and there's nobody there. It's for me, it's, you have everything there to set somebody on a plate, and we just don't have that person to convert. And,
So,
I've found some stats if you want some, Mr. Gim.
Okay, no, go for it.
Premier League, as John was alluding to, is pass success rate 87.9%. Of 1,384 passes, 1,216 were accurate, and in the Champions League it's at 85.8%, and as John was saying, for Real Madrid this season it was only at 84.5%. Average passes per game for us is 66. For Real Madrid it's 35 this season. In the Champions League it's 60. Key passes, he's done 3. 8 assists in 21 appearances. And the crosses, I mean, crosses isn't really his game because it's not his job. You're not really going to cross much from the middle of the park, are you? But 28 out of 86 crosses. Even some of our wingers aren't crossing to that kind of ratio.
But think about that for a second. He's basically doubled his average passes per game. And people are saying that he doesn't take enough on.
I think it's just that one game against Liverpool where 2 of his errors led to their goals. But there you go. When you're trying your hardest and you're working your fucking arse off, you're going to be more prone to errors when you're.
But how many times has Cazorla done that? And it's cost us games.
Too many.
So.
But
we talked before the podcast about this particular issue, and we kind of all agreed that maybe it was the team around Ozil that, because Ozil was so good that he was a couple of steps ahead of everybody else, maybe a couple of passes. Gav, would you like to elaborate on that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, it's just like putting Dennis Bergkamp playing in a bloody non-league team, and that's sometimes what's going on with Ozil. He's that clever, and his football brain is just absolutely immense, but he's just getting let down by what's around him at the moment. I think the only person that's actually truly got what Ozil could do is Ramsey.
Definitely.
And since Ramsey's been injured, I think that's when, I mean, I don't know how much we've missed Ramsey and how good Ramsey was at the start of the season, or just how well we linked up with Ozil. But since Ramsey's been out, not only have we sort of been starting to do this winning ugly, but we haven't played well for a hell of a long time. There's been a lot of games where we've won and we haven't been that impressive. And
we haven't clicked.
No, we haven't for a hell of a long time. I don't think we have done since we played the Scum. Really, it was about the last time we properly clicked. And like I say, that's really with the fact that I can't understand why nobody's sort of seeing the minute Ozil's got the ball. Nobody seems to be making a run. There's no pace. And like I say, that's why really, as Danny said, people like Gnabry has got to play. People like Ox, who can be, more direct, has got to play. At the moment, when we're playing Arteta, Santi, Ozil and Rosicky, we're literally playing 4 players who can play in a very, very similar position.
When you look at something like
there's no change. There's nothing. We need something slightly different on the pitch.
You say winning ugly. I mean, we scraped by Southampton. We barely beat Villa. We've got last-minute goals to beat Cardiff. Newcastle beat them 1-0. Another close game. They're the sort of things at the beginning of the season we'd have hammered all of those teams.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that he needs runners and people to make runs. He needs people to be on the same page with him. And lately, he's the person on the pitch that has the most pace.
Yeah.
And he's had to make those runs on his own. If you remember the Southampton game, he almost won that on a run that he made, and the ball hit the post. So it's a matter of I think people need one thing that I tweeted and that you said earlier today as well on Twitter, Danny, was that I think before people make these knee-jerk reactions to somebody's performance or just an overall generalization, watch the matches twice.
Yeah.
Go back, watch the individual instead of watching the game, taking it in, reacting. Watch the individual performance, and you will be amazed by the things that he does. It makes looks so easy.
Don't always watch the ball. I noticed from years of watching it on telly when I was younger to when I first started going when I was 17, 18, that once you've been going a couple of seasons, you're not always watching the ball. You're watching around the ball. You're watching the build-up to the ball. And you just watch the amount of space that he'll create by dragging two players off with him and then making a space for someone else. And then they don't go and take. But there again, I say you don't always watch the ball. I was there the day that Paul Davis broke Glenn Clockall's draw right in front of me in the East End, and I was looking at the clock end, looking at what they all shouting about.
I was there that day. I missed that one as well. I was watching the ball, Dan, I think.
Yeah, Kim, what do you think to all this then, Kim? What's your... Because I know you're a bit of a fan. You're a bigger fan than most of us when it comes to Ozil, and we can't say why just yet, but you've got something a little special planned, haven't you?
I have.
It's up to you when you want to talk about it. But yeah, tell us a little bit how you feel about Ozil, because I think it's important to get what we all think.
I think he's a great player.
Thanks for that.
I think there are always.
Hold on, didn't you say that the rich man's arse shoving?
No, I was drunk and it was a joke. You just planned to tweet it. But no, with Arsenal fans, we're always divided on this, and I think there are two sets of opinions on Ozil at the moment. There's one set of opinions that are going, okay, the players around him can't read his game. He's a couple of steps ahead of all, as I've already said. And he is doing individually very well. It's the team around him that can't accommodate him. And there's another set on the other end of the scale that are saying that this is a man that effectively cost 42.5 million pounds. He is touted as a world-class player. He should be able to come in to any team and for that kind of money hit the ground running, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's. I think there's a little bit of. Personally, I think he's done all right this season. I think that you should never judge a player on his first season. In regards to Henry, Pires, all had poor first seasons at Arsenal, and even Bergkamp, for instance, and they're now down in the list as club legends. So,
but would you consider him having a poor season?
No, I don't think he's having a poor season. I just think people putting him up against a price tag and thinking that he should be doing better than he is, whereas I think those people are delusional.
Well, to take a look at his Real Madrid days, he had 17 assists, 13 assists. In Bremen, the year before he went to Madrid, 13 assists. He has 8 already this year with the kind of finishing in front of him that we've already talked about. Mm-hmm. He's upped his key passes per game. He's almost doubled his average passes that he attempts per game. He's upped his pass success rate. What else do people want from him?
But in terms of stats, obviously stats don't lie. He is doing well. But, I mean, what have we really got into compare against in previous people that we've bought in, like Giroud for 12 million? Are you saying that, or are the fans thinking that?
But he's not a scorer. But he's not a scorer. That's the issue. People are asking him to take the team on his shoulders and do something that he wasn't known for, which is scoring. He puts the ball on the plate for other people to score. He creates space. He's a playmaker. He's continued to do so. Now, the difference now is that there's no Ronaldo, there's no Di Maria, there's no person like that to complete the play that he sets up.
On the same level.
I mean, as we were saying in the WhatsApp group last night, for the simple fact, he has made that difference to the team. For the first 2 or 3 months of the season, everyone around Arsenal was buzzing. There was such a vibe going on. Just to see his name on that team sheet would strike fear into the opposition. The simple fact that when he plays, the opposition know they have got to put 2 people on him. He creates space. He draws people out wide. I think what he brings to that team, he's a certain starter every game. For me, he is anyway.
I don't think it helps when a graphic comes up on the screen that says Ozil's last 8 games, no goals, 2 assists.
No, well, that's only incites anger amongst fans.
Because people won't see anything over that. But you'll be glad to hear, that drunken night where you said he's a rich man's arshwin. That's because on Wikipedia it had him down as about 18 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. And so whoever did that, it's now been edited and it's back up to all the proper assists.
And hopefully lynched in front of their family.
Yeah, he was only joking when he said it. But
You get Ozil stats wrong, you must die.
Yeah.
But we must end Ozil Watch now, and we move on to something, again, another serious issue. I'm sure all the fans that listened to it last night or were actually at the game would have noticed the boos at the end. I don't know what you boys make of that. Danny, we'll start with you.
I didn't know anything about it. I was watching it on BT Sport on the internet, not a stream, because someone's given me their password and things so I can watch it. And as soon as the game was over, I managed to knock myself out of the coma that I drifted into. I was nearly falling asleep. I just turned it off and went, what a load of shit that was. And then, so I didn't even hear the booing.
Okay, Gav?
Again, I mean, I was indoors. I don't pay Category A prices to go watch games. Too fucking much money. But yeah, no, I mean, it depends. I mean, it wasn't a hefty booing. You know, I've heard worse. But you know, if you're paying 62 quid upwards, which is an absolute extortionate amount of money to go and watch a game of football, and you think that, you know, the players or the manager didn't put their 62 quid's worth or didn't give you value for money, then as a paying customers we're treated these days, you've got all rights to voice your opinion at the end of the game. I think the booing was down to the fact that there was no urgency to win the game in the last 15 minutes, and I think that's why there was a little bit booing that, and the fact that, you know, the substitutions were just complete wank by Wenger.
FK?
Well, we spoke about it before we recorded the pod, and I think Gav's just summed it up beautifully there. I think I didn't actually boo, but I understand where the frustration comes from for those who did boo. I don't think it helps the team, but I think it wasn't really booing towards the team or the manager per se. I just think it was booing because from about 80 minutes onwards, it seemed as if where both teams could have gone for the kill, and both teams kind of settled for the draw. And, you know, Podolski was waiting by the corner flag, and, you know, there were fans chanting his name, hoping that he'd come on just go out and just go for the victory. But I think it was just because both teams had basically given up and settled for it. I think that's probably where the boos come from. But yeah, go on.
Sorry, was it more of like, I mean, to me, I mean, obviously, you know, you don't know what, you know, tricks the people play with the old sound on the telly. Was it more of like just a mass groan than a booing?
No, there was definitely a boo, but it wasn't as, you know, as awful or as passionate as like the Villa game, for example. Remember that time when the Ox was taken off against Man United, and there were, you know, when he was substituted and the camera focused on Van Persie and he was sort of questioning, like, why are you taking the Ox off? That was booing. Villa was booing. Last night it was just a bit of a boo because I think people were just frustrated that we could have won the game, but I don't think it was any more vicious than
little bit of a Liverpool hangover with the crowd.
Yeah, a little bit. Honestly, I don't think anything should be made of it. The players definitely noticed it because I think people have been tweeting about it today that Szczesny didn't react very well to the boo, etc., etc. But I think the players will know they had a chance to win the game. But all in all, let's move on. Three easier fixtures coming up in the league. We just got to take care of them.
Yeah. Well, we were going to go over to you on this one, John, but we'll start off by asking you in the next segment, which is our next segment of the podcast, draws us back to the age-old Wenger debate, with many tricky games coming up and a few behind us where we haven't played to the best of our ability. Some fans are still up in arms. We'll check this debate about a bit and see where we go with it. John, I know you've got loads to say on this one, so please let your thoughts.
Well, you know, you have a situation where we have our best chance in years to win a trophy. So you can understand the unrest when nothing's done in January. But at the same time, you know, the lack of available bodies out there that would improve us, you know, wholeheartedly are lacking. But then you have this reaction on social media that is beyond ridiculous, that, you know, people, you know, don't put things into perspective either. You know, we've dealt with injuries all year to one or more key players at any given time. We're 1 point off the lead. You know, we have United and Liverpool behind us. It's not like City are the world beaters they were just a couple weeks ago. Chelsea, again, are having their offensive issues just as we are.
And the team that are top, we've still got to play.
And we play the team in front and behind us. Directly in front and behind us.
That's a good thing or a bad thing.
Just go that it's good.
We don't know.
Pretend it's
But
good.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
You hear these rants from people, and they pretend they know more than seasoned veterans, and they players on Twitter and do all the my favorite word, or that you all know, is that they're just a lot of cunts about. And these cunts are a vocal, very, very vocal minority. We've all criticized appropriately. We've all, summarized appropriately. I think that everybody on this panel is pretty much in touch with the realities of our weaknesses and our positives. But then there comes a line that says, I'm still a supporter. Let's support. Let's see what this happens. The likelihood is that maybe this doesn't happen this year. But there's always still a chance. There's people that are throwing, the title run out the window, now with all to play for. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still in the Champions League. You don't know what next week is going to bring, because you would never think that, West Brom was going to draw with Chelsea. You didn't think that Norwich was going to draw with City. So take a step back. Stop being a fucking cunt. And just support the team, because there are no changes to be had at this point. We have who we have, and we need to move forward with them.
FK?
There's so much we could talk about here. Before we started the season, I always thought we had an outside chance of challenging for the league title, right? And to be in the mix post-Christmas, and to have an opportunity to push on, and it was criminal not to add in January, in my opinion. The fact that we haven't, but we're still there, having played Liverpool, Man United, we're a point behind, and reality is, if we win our 12 games, we're champions. Sounds all really easy, sounds really simple. For me, Arsene, he's done an amazing job. First 7-8 years, fantastic. The last few years, he's guided us, effective stewardship. I appreciate everything he's done. He is the right man for the job. I don't think it's the right time to talk about contract extensions. I think, like John says, we've got 12 games to go. Let's just see where we end up. But I think Arsene's almost dug himself a hole. He's put himself in a lose-lose situation. And the reason I think that is this. If we come close to winning the league title, and what I mean is if we miss out by maybe 3 or 4 points, everyone will be left wondering, if only, what if we could have just added just that someone. It didn't have to be top class, didn't have to be world class, didn't have to be expensive, but just that someone to get us those extra 3 or 4 points. If we miss out completely, let's say we go crashing out now, the next 12 league games, let's say we lose 4 or 5 and not win many, and we go crashing out the FA Cup this weekend or whatever, nightmare scenario, then he's also indefensible, because he's had all that money to spend. And it's not just about January, it's about, last summer, I know we went out and bought Ozil and Flamini, but we've had a lot of money for about 3 transfer windows now. And Gav and I talked about, even emergency panic buys, the likes of Benteke, the likes of so many other players that, a lot of fans wouldn't want, but they certainly would have been, good to add strength to our squad. So I think he's basically left himself in a scenario now that if he doesn't win anything, he becomes really difficult to defend. And you guys know, a lot of my followers will know, Gav certainly knows, I've been Arsene's supporter for years and years, and don't misunderstand me, I'm not turning on him. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that we need to replace him. I just feel that he's put himself in a really awkward situation, and if it turns out that we don't win anything, we come miles off it, not even someone like myself can stand there and say, one Arsene Wenger and he's definitely the manager, because he has made that mistake. But he's paid all that money to make these decisions. He's made his bed, and so he's got to lie in it now.
I think Gav's got a stiffy.
I sincerely hope. I sincerely hope that he wins something, and I've got a feeling that we won't. But I just, he's put himself into a corner. And if you you don't know who to believe and what to read anymore. All we do know for fact is that there was a lot of money to spend. All we do know for fact is that I think the board are willing for him to spend it. All we know for fact is that there are players out there. People keep telling me there's no players out there. You throw enough money at a player, an agent, and a club, they will move. So for me, that's the situation. I'd love to see him win something, desperately so, just so I can shut people like Gav up. But if he doesn't win something, then I dread to think what lies ahead. But in terms of a contract, he's a good manager. He's a great manager. There's not many out there that can come in and do a better job. I don't think. I genuinely mean that. You only have to look at United and what's happened with Moyes. Sometimes it's better the devil you know. So at this current moment, he's got my complete faith, my complete support, my complete backing. I just don't know if it's the right time to announce any such contracts, renewals and stuff. And maybe it doesn't have to be 2 or 3 years. And part of me, a little part of me, I'll finish on this. A little part of me maybe thinks that I think maybe Arsene is just waiting to see how the season unfolds. If he wins the league title, it's a big if. But if he does, there's a little part of me that thinks, he might just look at what happened to Fergie and he might just think, what, that's my time. I'm kind of done. I'll just leave while it's good and maybe focus on international management or something or whatever he can do. If he doesn't win it, he might weigh up his options and ultimately stay with Arsenal because he's a very, very nice position to be in. But they're my views. Sorry if that's.
Well, our drop's free. Hey, Gav.
No, not good enough, Danny. Not good enough. The Wenger out brigade lot. I mean, you got spare a thought for them. Their hero sacked. He's not good enough. Simple as that.
Speaking of which, we'll go over to Gav next, and we'll let you counteract this. But I'll draw back to what I said last night and a few comments that Arsene Wenger made after the window had shut. I think the more poignant one out of the lot of them was something along the lines of that if we had 3 more days of the window left or a couple more days of the window left, then maybe we would have done business. Now, that strikes me as someone that didn't have a plan B. As I said to John last night, I think they put all their eggs in one basket in terms of Draxler, and they failed in that attempt.
But I think that quote was in response to the Chalstrom situation, that they would have bought somebody else.
But do you not think that mugs the fans off by saying, well, you give us a couple of days, but you've just had 30, Arsene Wenger, and you've not managed to do anything with it?
He's had more than 30. He's had from the 1st of October to the 31st of January.
But it's like waving the carrot under the nose. Well, we could have gone out and got someone, but unfortunately, it was more of a case of not having the time other than having the money. That strikes to me as total lack of incapability. But Gav, your thoughts on this, please?
I mean, we all know my views. I personally think that we'd be in a lot better position if Mr. Wenger left us about 3 years ago. We haven't improved much since then, and we're not going to improve much under him. Nothing's going to change. There's nothing that I do or say, or anybody does or say is actually going to make any difference to this, apart from, not buying a ticket and bums on seats, because that's all the actual owner actually gives a fuck about. Wenger has, I think that Wenger's already agreed a 3-year deal. I think it's already agreed. It's already tied up. Everybody's all happy about it. They're just waiting for the right time to announce it, which will probably be if we manage to win a couple of games or if we manage to win a big game between now and the end of the summer. Because they're actually shitting themselves of announcing that we've signed another, this 8-year losing streak for another 3 years. Tactically, he's past it. The way he sets the team out is wrong. We could go on and on. I could probably talk for an hour just on my own about Wenger's inadequacies, and I'm bored of it. I want to see an Arsenal side which is up for the fight every game, which comes out from the kick-off like they want to sweat blood for the team. I want to see the club spending every available penny to make sure we've got the best players on the pitch that we possibly can, because the supporters that go match after match are certainly paying top money to do so, and it's just all a shame, really. Like I say, I mean, I'd be as happy as everybody else if we go out and win something this year, but it's highly unlikely. I I think probably with about 3 games to go in the league, will be mathematically impossible for us to win that. Brendan Rodgers has got Wenger's number completely. If Wenger does what he always does for the FA Cup and misses a few players, we're going to get our arses felt again on Sunday. And if anybody thinks that we're going to beat the Germans, then you're living in cloud cuckoo land, because they're slips and bounds better than us. Even though oddly we spend the same sort of money on wages on a yearly basis. So, like I say, as much as I'd like to be positive, and as much as I'll sit, stand, scream, for us to do the best we can for the remainder of the season, the wheels are falling off, and the reason why the wheels are falling off is because at the start of the last summer, everybody in the dog said Arsenal need a defensive midfielder and a striker, and we didn't get one then. We didn't get one in the January window either, and he's had 3 transfer windows now to replace Van Persie, which hasn't happened, and that's why it breeds to me like some form of incompetence, and that's what I don't like about it all. If he's doing his best, if there was no money there or whatever, then fair enough. But like I say, there's just too many things apart from the money that he's doing wrong at the moment. And when the accounts are published, everybody knows how much money Arsenal got in the bank. Everybody knows that starting this summer we're about £60 million a year better off from commercial deals, plus about £30 million better off from TV deals. So potentially we could have gone out and risked £150 million on players in the summer and in January.
And instead we're going to pay corporation tax, but that's another story.
Well, yeah, exactly. You don't spend it, you pay tax on it. So, like I say, I mean, it's whatever happens, we all know what's going to happen. I can tell everybody now that I'll be very, very surprised if Wenger doesn't sign a free. If he hasn't signed a 3-year deal already, they're just waiting for the right time to announce it. And there's nothing we can do. We're stuck with a fellow, unfortunately. But I can't see. I hope I'm wrong. Please God, I'm wrong. But I can't see Wenger ever winning anything for us again.
So the way that you've just said that there, you think that we'll be out of all competitions by the end of February?
Well, I mean, I said that at the beginning of at the start of the season, just purely on on the fact. I mean, I can't see what's going to save us. Like I say, I can't. Can you seriously? Can anybody seriously see us the way that Liverpool absolutely spanked us last week? Can anybody see us actually turning them over at our ground on Sunday? When?
Yes.
When we're going to play a weaker team than what we played in the first place?
Liverpool done us in an extraordinary game on Saturday, but prior to that, Arsene Wenger has served Brendan Rodgers' arse on a plate every game.
When we played them at the beginning of the season, we scored 2 goals. Brendan Rodgers knew we was all over him.
What about last year?
He changed it, and
what about season before?
Come on,
we done them. We turned them over.
Yeah, no, like I say, Brendan Rodgers has got his number now. I'm telling you.
Well, we'll see Sunday. But to answer your question, Gav, outside.
Like I say, as much as I like Jenkinson, how do you see him going up against Sterling on Sunday?
Well, will Sterling play, and B, will Jenkinson play? We don't know.
Liverpool are going to put their best team out.
Yeah, but I think
Wenger, experience tells us that Wenger's going to actually rest players for the Champions
disagree, because I think he played his strongest team against Coventry when he didn't need to, and I think this season he's got a different approach to it. I think he might freshen things up. There's no harm in that, but I don't think there's any chance of him resting players just for the sake of resting them. I think he'll play. I think we'll come out flying Sunday. Honestly, I think that clean sheet last night. This is not. Maybe it's just me being optimistic or a bit too confident. But I think the clean sheet yesterday would have done us the world of good, and I think the fact that we got absolutely spanked on Saturday, and knowing that Arsenal has made mistakes in the FA Cup before, like Blackburn last year, I think it was exactly just before the Bayern game, wasn't it? Exactly the same scenario. I just can't see it happening again. I think he'll play his strongest team possible. I think we'll come out and I think we'll turn Liverpool over.
Not a chance.
So, Gav, on what you've said there, with the possibility of us being out of all trophies by the end of February, how much of that do you think? Give us a percentage. How much you think is down to Arsene Wenger?
Well, he's not like a new manager that's come in and he's taken over other players. Wenger's bought through or bought every single player. You know, he's designed the training ground. He's designed everything. Wenger has had a finger in every single player when it comes to absolutely everything. The buck, unfortunately, stops 100% with him. He can't turn around like, for example, like Martinez at Everton and say, well, I've done my best with the money available. Wenger has not done his best with the money available because there's money left over. There's money in the, there's money in the thing. So, I just can't, it is 100% down to him. You can't, whereas when we play well, it's down to Wenger. When we play badly, it's down to Wenger. The buck always stops with the manager. And like I say, unfortunately, we get to the point where we're 8, 9, 10. I mean, how many years down the line we've got to be before he's actually going to be accountable with the fact that we're not winning anything? I mean, the team celebrated like they'd won the fucking league when we come fourth last season. Fuck fourth.
Oh, but
fuck it. I would much rather. No, seriously, I would sacrifice. I would sacrifice fourth now to win the FA Cup.
No, that's a debate for another day. But the celebration thing really irks me because after the Spurs game last year, when the whole negative spiral bollocks came out, we Arsenal were under so much scrutiny in the press, from even some of our own fans, from the media, from pundits, from everyone. Everyone knocked us. Everyone wrote us off. Me personally, I mean, I was at St James's. I have no problem with the players. I mean, they weren't celebrating as if they'd won a trophy, but they were celebrating because it was a release. All the criticism, all the negativity, like they'd done it. They'd shut everyone up just in that mini 10-game run because everyone wrote us off. I have no problem with that at all. I would agree with you. I think Arsene Wenger is completely accountable for any success and for obviously any failure. But I would disagree with you with respect in that it's not about the last 7 or 8 years. I think there has been no doubt that in the last year and a half, there has been plenty of money to spend. There's been plenty of wage structure. We've been linked with plenty of players, etc., etc. So there's no excuses that can be made for the last year and a half. But certainly before that, times were tough. I mean, he's mentioned it in various press conferences. If we didn't have to sell so and so, we wouldn't have sold so and so. If I could have bought X, Y, and Z, I would have bought X, Y, and Z. But in the last year, 18 months, there's been no excuse. And there's a lot of
they wasted. I mean, all these years where they say he didn't have any money, the amount of money that they wasted on wages.
To answer that though,
they was playing Diaby. I mean, we've been playing Diaby for the last. I mean, Diaby's due for a fucking testimonial, isn't he?
We've had a lot worse players. We've had, we could talk about Shamax, Bentlers, Javidio, so many players that have come in that just haven't worked out. The one luxury that the Uniteds, the Chelseas, and the Cities, and even Liverpool to a certain extent have had is that when they've had players that haven't worked out, and I could probably list you 10 players at each of those clubs that haven't worked out, they've been able to cover up. They've been able to buy very, very quickly and just discard those players as if they just didn't even exist. We've not been able to do that because we have had limited money. So every club takes punts, right?
The amount of players that Wenger's sold over the last 5 or 6 years that have gone on not only to win trophies in this country, but in other countries. Do you know what I mean? That's not the problem. The problem hasn't been who we've actually bought. It's who we've actually sold and not replaced. I mean, if you look at Clichy, Adebayor, Nasri,
I think Nasri, Cesc, and Van.
But I think all those players have now been replaced. I mean, we have 2 good left backs. We have Cazorla on the left. To a lesser extent, Poldi on the left. I mean, we have also instead of Cesc. So I mean, not replacing them. I think the biggest one that's the obvious lack. Where we're obviously lacking is a striker.
But John, football's about outputs, right? It's not about just because Cesc had 20 assists, we need to bring in a midfielder who can make 20 assists.
No, of course.
Sorry. It's just about we're now. I mean, the way Gav talks, I appreciate. He's really passionate and he's obviously frustrated, just as like we all are. But we're a point behind with 12 games to go. We were what 7th this time last season. We're still in the Champions League, right? But kiss that goodbye, right? I'm with you, Gav, with that. Forget Bayern Munich because that's just going to be incredibly difficult. And if we get through, we're probably going to go out to some sort of random underdog like Galatasaray in the next round. But the FA Cup, you beat Liverpool, and all of a sudden there's only City or Chelsea left, and
they're playing each other.
Funnier things have happened, Gav. Honestly, I know that's what I mean. City or Chelsea, one of those two will obviously be left in the competition. That's what I meant. So. You just don't know. I mean, I don't know. I like
The way, listen,
like John
the
says,
way the way position 10 through 19 is separated by what, 4 points, something like that. The top 6 are separated by 4 or 5 points. I mean, you can't really count anybody out at this point. Just because those bottom teams are going to be fighting for their life, and that includes us. So there are no easy games left.
Every game, like I say, every game. Sometimes, like, as Liverpool found out against Fulham, I mean, they was lucky to get the win against Fulham the other night.
Every game is a possible drop point scenario for any team. So I'm not quite willing to chuck the title out just yet. I think we'll have obviously a clear view of it, mid-March. But to count anybody out at this point is a bit hasty.
But do you know what fills me with confidence, John? The way that Arsenal finished the last 2 domestic seasons, and we finished stronger than any other club.
We've had players,
league, including champions.
The thing is though, is them 2 seasons we've got to January, February, and the players that we've been missing for the first half of the season have come back from injury. We've got nobody coming back. Do you know what I mean? I mean, and again, it's sorry to bring this up, but as crap as he fucking has been the last few games, Giroud's, is our only, is the man that Wenger's actually looking to play through the middle for the rest of the season, and he's not going to get the 10 goals in the next 12 games that are going to win us the title. Whereas if you look at Chelsea, you look at Man City, you look at Liverpool, they've all got goals in them. Do you know what I mean? All right.
But Chelsea's doing the same thing we're doing.
It's not all down to Giroud. Exactly, it's not all down to Giroud.
But Chelsea's doing exactly what we're doing. They're getting goals from the midfield. They don't have a striker that's going out and killing it every game. That Eto'o try-trick was...
I'd swap what they've got for what we've got.
Well,
I wouldn't disagree there.
Ramsey's meant to be back for about the Stoke game. He's meant to be back, Stoke or Swansea game. Then if you look at the rest of the games that we've got for this season, at home, Sunderland, Swansea, Man City, West Ham, Newcastle, West Brom. We're going to win 5 of those, and Man City are not that good away from home. So we're looking at 15, 16 points there out of 18, which is...
But you also got to remember, they all play each other.
Yeah, and then
they all go to Anfield. They all go to exactly.
Yeah. And then away, we've got easy away games at Stoke, who are on their arses now. I mean, I know they did quite well against Man United. Again, everybody does apart from us. Away games at Everton, which could be tough. We'll win against Norwich and Hull. We've got away games at Spurs. They'll just shit their pants like they usually do. And the only tough away game is Chelsea and Everton. So we're going to get nearly nigh on vast majority of the points left to play for when everyone else, like FK just said, everyone else is playing each other. And this weekend has shown how easy it is for teams not to score. Who would have put money on Man City not scoring in 2 Premier League games in a row? The team that scores 100 goals a game?
They missed that Aguero.
They do. That was a glaring miss. So I'm still full of confidence. We're 1 point behind the leaders, and we've got to play them. If we beat them, we're 2 points ahead of them. We can't throw the towel in yet. We've still got the whole of the season to come. We got Ramsey's going to be back.
Wenger's never beaten Mourinho, and I can't remember the last time we won at the Bridge either.
Yeah, it's going to happen sooner or
later.
Only
a couple of years ago, we've done them.
A couple of years ago, 5-3.
Yeah. But what better time to change? I don't think. To be fair, I don't think Gav's thrown in the towel. I think he's been honest that we have got an outside chance, and he would love it.
It's an honest opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with that.
If we're saying
absolutely,
I'd like us to go out and win the fucking treble. Do you know what I mean?
So
I'll be the first.
Absolutely.
I'll be the first one. I'll be banging down the fucking doors of the pubs fucking for days. Do you know what I mean on that one?
But I think
without the contract.
But I think
still want him to fuck off though.
We've still got what it takes to win the title, and I'm not going to give it in until it's mathematically impossible for us to win the title. And with Ramsey coming back in 2 or 3 Premier League games, he should be back, and he'll have a couple of games as maybe coming on as a sub. So he may be starting for the Spurs or Chelsea away games. It's just when we need him. Maybe even the Swansea at home game. So there's still plenty of stuff to fight for. We can still do it. We just need Giroud to have a rest, someone else to play up front and play as a proper striker, not as someone who's going to be trying to have a water carrier up front, because that isn't working.
I'd give Bentner a run of games.
Yeah. Oh, Bentner's he's a goal scorer.
Might as well play with 10 fucking men and have him come on the pitch.
Well, see, when Giroud
I'll tell you what. You give Bentner the same amount of chances that Giroud had last night, and he buries a goal.
Plus, he's a more experienced player. And plus, when Giroud plays, it's more like we're playing 4-6-0.
Pray for Gav.
Gav is
Fucking
fucking killing himself right now.
Seriously, I'd rather fucking play Vermaelen up front and fucking Benter.
Gav's just turned into the Hulk there.
Well, you saw before Bender
Jesus.
got injured against Cardiff when he decided
He'd
to.
played 6 games and fucking scored 1 or something.
Yeah, but you see how much weight he'd lost. He'd got that yard back. He'd lost about a few pounds in weight, and he looked like he was on it. He was ready to do it.
I don't care if the cunt goes down to fucking 10 stone. He's a prick. He don't deserve to wear the shirt.
In
He's
all
shit.
fairness,
He actually makes Giroud looks good.
As long as you're being objective, that's the main thing.
I am being objective.
I'm going to tell Jeff on you. Jeff!
He's put that weight on with his new haircut, though.
Oh,
He has, really.
Like your new haircut makes you look like a horse molester.
Nah, makes me... Hey, you'd like that, Gav, with your ponytail.
So, are you full of confidence for the rest of the season, Mr. Gimli?
I'm always full of confidence.
Are you always full of things that require AA batteries?
Shit. Always full of shit. But no, Danny, if we can go over to you next.
Yeah.
This morning we put a tweet out asking the good people of Twitter for their questions. And I understand that you've got a few, so let's have
certainly
them.
do. Right. This is from, here we go, people that don't have the decency to be born with an English-sounding name.
Racist.
At DIVYUN, which sounds like Divian. Should Ozil start making runs instead, as others certainly can also carve out passes? I should have proofread that. Should he stop fucking passing to everyone else and just do the runs and try and do the score the goals himself? What does people think, Gim?
No, I think he should stick to how he's playing. I think if the other players around him adapt to how he plays, then they will start to click. But I think it's going to take some time.
Anyone else want to answer that?
He should do his own thing because the rest of them ain't fucking performing around him. Really, I'd certainly like to see him shoot more.
Yeah, that's a question we've got coming up.
I'd like to see him do more of what he did against Southampton.
Yeah, FK?
Nothing to really add to that. I think Ozil was just brilliant, and the players need to start moving a bit more. Giroud's too static, and there's just no outlets up front. And people need to realise that Ozil was playing alongside Di Maria, Ronaldo, Benzema, etc., at Real Madrid, and he's playing with much lesser players at Arsenal. So that's it.
Oh, right. The next one I think might slightly which will make Gav happy. This is from at JONNYHAUSM. Why do we always implode in a spineless manner when it matters most? Go on, Gav. Off you go, son.
There's probably a joke about the French army in this at some point, but I refuse to do anything that's xenophobic or racist or whatever. As
Doesn't
always,
sound like you at all.
Yeah. Hello?
no, as always, you've got to blame the boss.
Oh, John?
Well, I think it's a mental block. I mean, if you're a basketball fan, for example, you think back to the Chicago Bulls when they were getting beat by the Detroit Pistons all the time. It only I had a coach that used to say, you don't do it until you do it. And I think it's just going to take one game where we turn it around, and it, just like it has the last couple seasons, turned our season around. It's going to be that one game that everything clicks and we can take off from there. When that happens, fuck if I know.
FK?
Yeah, it's difficult to disagree with anything that anyone said. I mean, obviously Arsenal ultimately controlled all the tactics. I think the one thing that's disappointing is that we're not versatile enough to adapt to different situations in the game. So if we're losing, we're just going to lose badly, and if we win, we tend to win pretty well. I think it is worrying that it's become a bit of a psychological block. I think the players are now very wary of it because the media just makes so much of it. The social media, the fans, etc., that every time we now go into a big game, and maybe that's why we were a bit wary last time. I mean, we got spanked 6 at City, and then the next game we drew 0-0 at Chelsea, and we were accused of not being adventurous enough. And I think that's because we had the 6 goals in the back of our mind. So, like John says, as soon as that first big game comes, and it could be Liverpool this Sunday, it could be Bayern Munich next Wednesday, you never know. Just that one big game, we need to just win that, and then the rest will fall like dominoes, I'm sure.
Any pearls of wisdom for you, Mr. Gimli?
I just think consistency is the key. Of course, we all want to go out and beat our main rivals and the teams at the top of the table, but ultimately, what wins the league is being consistent throughout a season. But I do echo exactly what John and FK have said about once that big game comes, like Bayern did last year, it's all going to fall into place, and hopefully they'll go on a bit of a streak again.
Oh, okay. Right, next one. I want a one-word answer, or as close to as possible, from our old mate Jason, who is at Jason Davies 71. Arteta, one more season or time to give up, John?
I think he's good for morale. He's a good leader.
He makes a good cup of tea, apparently.
He likes jamon ibérico. But keep him the fuck off the pitch for me. I don't know. I'm sorry. He's just lost the pace.
Gav?
I think from after this season, he will make a very, very good squad player until he retires. But
he's only 31 though.
He's playing like he's 38, mate. No, like I say, I wouldn't want him in the first. He shouldn't be in our starting 11.
Wow, Gimli?
I think he's worth another couple of seasons. You see him when he's on the pitch, and even though he's lost the pace, you see he's an incredibly tactical player. He can rile people up. He can get under the skin of the opposition. I think that's what you get from him. Earlier, as I said in the podcast, I think you've got to remember that he is being played out of his natural position. Maybe you could give him a go in the centre of the park. But, hey ho, we're not Arsene Wenger, even though Gav pays his wages. We're not Arsene Wenger. So we'll have to leave that
we
down
all pay his wages. We all pay his wages.
I don't.
But you more than anybody else, Gav.
Exactly. Every penny of my fucking money goes to him, dirty bastard.
FK, you got something nice to say about Arteta?
I like him as a player, but I think, like Gav says, at best from next season, he'll be a great squad player to have good motivation around the ground, around the squad. But I think in the bigger games, you need better players, quite simply.
Right, so this next question I think is really, really good. The way the person has phrased it is from Richard, Forgrave. I'm not sure if his surname is Forgrave or he is for a grave. Either way, given the last two results, do we think we can expect to collect 3 points from any of the other Champions League challenging teams come this March? Gim?
Yeah, I think we can.
Which would be Chelsea and Man City.
I think we can do Man City at home. I think Chelsea away is going to be more difficult than Man City at home. But
so out of 6 points, what would you reckon?
4.
Ooh, was that wishful or?
I think that's probably more heart than head.
Oh dear. How about you, John?
I think we can get 3. I think the home game against City is one that we could win. Really hard to go into Chelsea's stadium and win at the Bridge against Mourinho. That's going to be a hard ask. 3, I would say 3.
FK?
I think we can beat City at home, but I think it might end up being a draw. Chelsea away, I'd probably settle for a draw as well. I think 2 points out of the 6 probably realistic. I would love to see, though, whatever happens, I'd love to see Arsenal look at the 2 spankings that we've got and look at the way Mourinho sets up his teams against the bigger guys and actually just have a bit of a game plan rather than just go gung-ho, let's play our style, try and pass the opponent off the pitch. Let's go with the game plan and just aim not to get beat away at Stamford Bridge for starters, and at home maybe we should just play our own game and with a bit of luck, with a bit of fortune, we'll get a right result.
And Gav, our resident ray of sunshine.
If Aguilera is fit when we play, man. If that
Aguilera.
I don't fucking know. If that fella from Man City who scores all their goals, his name I can't pronounce correctly, is fit, then they will spank us. But I do think, look, we're capable of getting a draw at Chelsea.
And we've had an email. We've got 2 emails. The quick one, just to Gav on his own, from Akil Abbas, who says he doesn't have Twitter. He says, Gav, how dare you predict, and then in quote marks, Man City will win the league by 7 points. Would you like to explain yourself, young man?
They will get 7 points more than us.
Fair enough. Right, this next one is
Fair
a
play.
bit of a long email, but just to show that if you do email us, we do read them. From Ant Netali. That's 2 words. All right, 3 sentences. Do we need to take more long range shots? Just thinking that a lot of Rambo's goals earlier this year were from distance. Had we had a go and they kept going in? Last year, Cazorla scored a bunch of goals, but doesn't seem to be trying that often this season. We know Podolski and the Ox can hit them. We know fucking Podolski can. He can kill people with them. He didn't put out saying that. But obviously neither of them play much so far. Wasicki likes to try it, but seemingly Giroud doesn't. Is this becoming a bit of a problem? And we'll start with John.
We don't ever fucking shoot. I mean, I sit there, 3/4 of a match just screaming, shoot. So I don't see it changing anytime soon.
I think it sums it up perfectly last night when you were saying that Ozil ran into the box, got past 4 of them, passed it to Wasicki, and he went, "Oh no, what? I'll pass it back into the left." It was JFK all over again, back into the.
We had 7 block shots last night. So that just tells you we're waiting way too long to just have a go.
So we don't finish this question on a depressive note. I'll ask Gav to go next.
Yes, we should shoot more. The fucking ridiculous.
First Man City will get 7 more points than us, and yes, we should shoot more.
Well, of course, the problem is everybody knows that we get to the edge of the box and we run out of ideas and we tippy-toe it about until there's a gap to actually shoot. The problem and the reason why we're not getting shots off and why we're not shooting from outside the box as much as we are is because we're not breaking quick enough. By the time we've broke and got to the edge of the box, most teams have got fucking 9 or 10 men behind the ball. That's why we're not getting as many shots in, because the space and the gaps ain't opening up, because we're not hitting teams on the break and we're not getting to the team's penalty box as quickly as we should do because the team lacks pace.
Look at the scum last season with Gareth Bale. That's what they need to take a look at. How about you, FK? You got anything interesting to say?
100%, mate. We should be shooting more often, especially when you look at the calibre of players in our team. Yeah, like Arteta used to score goals from long range for fun. Rosicky, before he joined Arsenal, I remember memories of him for Czech Republic, just banging them in from 25, 30, 35 yards. Cazorla can hit them. So yeah, we should absolutely, and not only just because it might give us more goals, but also because our play becomes a bit less unpredictable. Everyone knows we're going to get to the penalty area and just pass it. So, yeah, absolutely, shoot on sight. And while we're at it, 2 other things. Free kicks. When was the last time we scored a goal from a free kick?
1972.
Well, there
Wilson.
You go. So you need someone. I mean, I sit there. Last night when Ozil had that chance in the 88th minute, I thought, I was behind the goal thinking this could be it. And then to hit the man, corner balls. It's such great opportunities to score goals.
Podolski should have been on the pitch just for that occasion alone.
At least they're going to worry about.
So yeah, we should. Chesney should start shooting a bit more. Just. No, I'm kidding. We should definitely shoot on sight a bit more. For sure.
I think we should score more.
I wish we would score more.
I actually think that if we scored more goals, we'd win more games.
Absolutely.
Jesus, no. With that final pearl of wisdom, before you, over to you, Gimli, you can answer this question and then take the steering wheel back.
Okay. Yes, I do. I think that the most annoying thing about what are you laughing at? You sound like a girl.
No, I'm sorry. This is just the whole point. Should we shoot more? Yeah, of course we fucking should shoot more. It's fucking stupid.
From long distance,
it's like saying, do you think Chesney should save more shots? For fuck's sake.
But how many times in the past have we tried to walk it in the goal?
Should we concede less?
The question was, the first line, do we need to take more long-range shots, not shoot more, you divvy fuck?
Oh, fucking ridiculous.
Go on in the naughty corner with you.
Yeah, do you think we should start each game with 11 men?
You've got to hope that he's got the gas heater on in the caravan, otherwise it's going to be really cold tonight.
Gary's on one. Yeah,
no, she's ridiculous. Go on. What a pile of shit.
I think we should take long red shots. How can we do anything with you?
Thanks for your questions, by the way, listeners. We really value them.
Yeah, Shane Gav doesn't actually grasp what long range means as opposed to just shooting. Go on, Kim. What do you say?
I'm crying.
Okay.
Put yourself mute, Gav.
I have to put myself on mute. This is fucking stupid.
He's having a moment.
He's gone like I was the other week. To answer the question, yes, I think we've been criticised in the
range.
past for trying to pass the ball into the net, where we see that Ozil is pulling players out of position, and we've got players like Cazorla in the centre, like FK said, Arteta as well, and they've all got brilliant shots on them. It would be a shame to utilise, such a thing.
Not to utilise.
Whatever, just he's such a prick, isn't he?
I'm still laughing again.
I think he's got his ferrets in his pants again. Apparently that's how that lot keep him warm.
His mate Aguero's just texted him saying he's for beers.
Talking about the Bob Wilson today was on Talk Sport, and he was on about back in his day when we did the double in 70-71, saying that back then they were playing on muddy fields. They had a ball that weighed 6 stone, and they had players that used to drink and smoke. Training regimes were fuck all. Dieting was non-existent. And that season we had 2 players play 64 games. We had 3 players play 63. Our top goal scorer that season, Ray Kennedy, it says here 26 goals in 63 games.
But come on, Danny, the pace of the game was, he was virtually walking pace back then. You could pass back to
you couldn't run because your wellies would
take
come
5
off.
minutes. Well, there you go. So now it's 100 miles an hour, the game nowadays. You've got to be super, super fit.
Yeah, but to play in that, which would you rather run, on grass or in knee-deep in mud? They were running knee-deep in mud for 64 games a season.
Judging by my fitness, I'd rather be stuck in grass than just walking. Stuck in mud. Sorry, walking around.
Bob Wilson said today, after the Villa game, first game of the season, he thought we'd finish 6th to 8th, and he ended it with saying to be 1 point off the leaders with 12 games to go.
Exactly.
That's a fantastic position to be in, and everyone have a little faith.
Completely.
Right then, we've come to that part of the podcast where I need some predictions. Not just one game, but 2 this week before we pod next Thursday. So we'll start with Danny, and if I could ask for predictions for Liverpool at home in the FA Cup and Bayern Munich at home in the Champions League, please.
Well, when we played Liverpool at home in the Premier League earlier in the season, they had Sturridge, they had Suarez, but they played 3 at the back. Now, I don't think he's going to make that mistake again, but we're going to be at home, so I think maybe we're going to get a different striker up front because to rest the wonderful Giroud. I can see this maybe going into extra time, and then did it go to replays in the FA Cup, or have they banned that yet?
Replay. One replay.
One replay. I reckon it's going to be 2-2, and first goal scorer Sturridge.
Okay. Gav, please.
Obviously, I'd love us to win. I love the FA Cup. Silly bollocks will rest too many players. We'll probably get done 2-0, and I'm going for Suarez to score the first goal.
Okay. And John?
After last week, I just don't think that's going to happen again. I think we'll tighten up in defense. I think we'll win 1-0 with Cazorla scoring the first one.
FK?
2-0 Ozil.
Okay, I was going 2-0 Ozil as well. It's written on the screen.
Jeff's going 2-0 Giroud.
Okay. And Champions League v Bayern next, Danny?
This is going to be a really tough one because it's the home game. If it had been the away game first, then I know we'd lose the away and not bother with the home. But I think he's going to try it. So the home game, I think maybe 2-1 to us. No, I'm not going 2-1. No, I'm going to go 1-0 them. And who's going to score the goal? Ribery.
He's out.
He's out with an arsehole injury.
Is he? Oh, I'll go Robin then.
Okay, Gav?
0-0.
No goal scorer either. So, fantastic. John?
I'm going 1-0. Us.
Okay.
And Ozil to score.
Okay. FK?
I'll go score draw 1-1 and Cazorla to score first.
I'm going 3-1 to Bayern Munich, Mandzukic.
Apparently, Jeff. I was going to say Mandzukic, unpronounceable. Who didn't have the decency to be born with an English name. Jeff has said 6-6 Diaby.
He's got a hat trick, didn't he? Last
I can see that
Mandzukic?
Actually. Yeah, 6-6. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that easily.
Good game that.
Diaby get 3, and then Sonogo will get 3, and then they'll both. Oh, actually, I was going to say they drop dead on the pitch, but thinking about that, that's not really funny, so I won't say that.
But he told me
3
Walcott
each.
was going to get a second assist.
While we're on the subject of the Munich game, the Red Action boys, in connection with Arsenal, have got together and they're putting out cards on everybody's seats. When it all comes in, the whole ground's going to be red and white striped blocks with Arsenal on the lower east and a big cannon on the upper east stand. They're asking if everybody can get to their seats 5 or 10 minutes before kick-off, so you can hold these cards up so it actually looks kind of good, really, and good luck to them. I hope it looks really good.
I think it looked awesome.
Yeah, definitely it
So
will.
if you go in the game, sink your last pint quickly and get into the ground on time.
Yeah. Danny, any other news? We understand you've got a little bit too.
Yeah, just a little bit of sad news here that I've not heard many people talk about, because I know me and John are big fans of. Well, John isn't English, so there you go. That might be why he's a fan of non-English football. But 2 weeks ago, Luis Aragonés passed away at the age of 75. He was manager of Spain when they won Euro 2008, beating Germany 1-0 in the final. Got anything to say about that, John?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough.
Was he racist at all?
He was a bit. He was a
racist git, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, aren't we all a little bit? I don't like English people.
Speak.
Everyone I know who's an arsehole is English, white and male. So there you go. But yeah, he was manager of my team, my Spanish team, Atletico Madrid. He was manager of them about 43 times. Jesus Hill used to sack him every half hour, then give him the job back. And then sad news today, another ex-international manager, Richard Moller-Nielsen. He was manager of Denmark when they won the Euro 92, when John Jensen scored that first goal. And they won 2-0. Yeah, and they beat Germany 2-0 in that game. But he had, I was reading that he had a brain tumour last summer, and it's complications to do with that because he had the operation last year, and he was only 76. So, yeah, it's weird that two managers that have won the European Championships die within a couple of weeks of each other.
I thought he made them fruit corners.
I think he may well have done. But going by the fact that it was a European Championship winning player and managers, we've got no chance of any English people dying in the foreseeable future.
No. Right then, if I could have some shout outs from you all, and we'll start with FK.
I was going to shout out Red Action actually, but Gav seems to have done that. So again, just to reiterate, if you go into the game, get in your seat by 7:30 for the card display. I would like to shout out one guy on Twitter who's been following me for a while. He's very complimentary about me, so obviously he's one of my favourites, but he does speak a lot of sense, and his name is Anchit, and his at handle is Gooner Godfather. So Gooner Gooner, and then Godfather, one word, no hyphens or anything. Give him a follow.
Fantastic. John?
Just a shout out to somebody on Twitter. He's from South Africa. He's actually very, criminally underfollowed. Very level-headed guy, Gooner, diehard supporter. At Olaf Brinkman, OLAFBRINKMANN.
Fantastic. Mr. Tickle over there, Gav?
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, I don't normally do this. Two really. I've been doing a lot of blogging recently, and the two lads that helped me out with the Shewar.com site have been picking up the slack. So one of them is at Kenos, KEENOSAFC.
Yeah, he's good.
And the other one is at Matt Wigley, MATTWIGLEY. Thanks for all your work, lads. And I enjoy reading as much as hopefully you enjoy writing for us.
How about your mate and his gay lover in Las Vegas? How are they getting on?
Oh, don't. It's like fucking Judith Chalmers, them. Like, all they do is talk about where they're fucking going away next. And the fat gay one, he's
Is that
he's got,
Sex
he's
Pistol?
Cess_pistol. He's off to Dubai to work. He's got to stand by a stall handing out leaflets for 2 days. And
Dressed as Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, and the other one, D Hammy. He's just got back from America. He told us once or twice, I think. And he's off to Portugal again soon. But yeah, no, all that not like it's like fucking Judith Chalmers, mate. They're fucking all these holidays they're getting all over the place. Poor bastard.
The fat gay one. We'll definitely count you in for the Matt Lucas podcast then. Speaking of which,
fat gay and bald.
over to Danny.
Cheeky fuckers. I was never sure who to do this to, but I thought I'd say it to Daniel Cowan and James Stokes Stokes. I was listening to their last two podcasts this week, and they had some Asian sensation on there doing dirty sex talk. I don't know who that could have been. FK, have you any idea?
No idea.
No fucking idea at all. So to their brilliantly funny, witty, and delightfully Moorish Goonosphere, which is at Goonosphere podcast, I was listening to both of them today, and my mum, who is 70, has no interest in football at all. She enjoyed their cheeky shenanigans, and she was actually very interested because someone else on our podcast last week did a little thing for injury lawyers for you, didn't you, Mr. Gimli?
Hashtag justice for Gimli's penis.
And because your penis fell off, didn't it?
It certainly did.
And how much did you get from Arsenal by using shotgun, dribble and bastard solicitors?
£45,000.
Oh, good God. And did that get you much?
Got me a new car.
Oh, excellent. So, yeah, go and have a listen to Goonosphere podcast. And they also had a guest on there from the Triangle Gooners, some American bloke. They all sound the same to me, so I don't know what his name was. But he was very, very good. He didn't say behind the 8 ball once. So, hello to him as well, whatever your name was. That's me done.
Superb. My shout out this week goes to Jan Arga Fjortoft, who's going to be joining us on this very podcast on the 6th of March. So that's definitely one to look forward to. For those who don't know him, he's the one that he break the Ozil deal last year, and he was very close to the movement of Draxler
and Podolski, I think.
And Podolski, yeah,
Indeed.
He was director at football for Lillestrøm for 3 or 4 years, and he's now a respected pundit for Sky in Germany. So really can't wait for that one.
He's a good egg, and I like what he has to say.
Yes, not forgetting even the fact he was a powerful striker, and he probably did shoot quite a lot. Yeah. So all that's left then is to thank all you boys for joining us tonight.
That's been an emotional roller coaster. And at one point I was sick.
I haven't laughed that much in fucking ages. I'm sorry. I really haven't.
It's been good fun.
Yeah, Gav's got to go and take his pad out. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast.
Shoot!
Shut your face. Thank you very much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Shoot!
Shoot your fucker.
Score.
There's only one Johnny Jensen. There's only one. I was there when he scored. Have that, you cheeky monkeys.
Oh, fuck me.